What's going on, everyone? It is AxelBeats here for AnimeUproar, and with Demon Slayer in full swing right now, I wanted to take a moment to give you all some details of the story or the surrounding factors that you might have missed when watching or reading. Be sure to let me know how many you knew at the end. If you enjoy this video and you want to see more Demon Slayer content on this channel, remember to leave a like as well as a comment down below. It only takes a second, but it really does help with the YouTube algorithm. And of course, if you haven't subscribed to AnimeUproar, make this the video that you do so by clicking that bell and selecting all notifications. You can also follow AnimeUproar on Twitter and Instagram at AnimeUproar, or you can follow myself at AxelYT. Of course, this video will contain some Demon Slayer spoilers, but for the most part, I will try to avoid any really big ones so that any anime-only viewers can still enjoy this video. With that said, let's get into it. So our first fact isn't so much a detail about the story itself, however, it's something I found to be pretty fun, so I included it. Nezuko's Japanese voice actor, Akari Kito, has some interesting links with her character. Firstly, they are both exactly 5 feet tall, but more importantly and almost impressively, the kanji representing Ki in the voice actress's name actually translates to demon, which is pretty fitting for the character. Zenitsu is famous for being a womanizer, or at least obsessed with the idea of finding a wife, especially early in the series, which is kind of funny when you consider that his family name, Agatsuma, translates to my wife. The dude is so down bad that it's literally in his name. While we're talking about Zenitsu, we can also mention that he is the only non-Hashira to both create a new breathing form and defeat an upper rank moon alone. Even amongst the Hashira, these are pretty impressive feats. Finally, the last thing I want to mention about this character is The Legend of Zenitsu, an autobiographical memoir which details the entirety of the Demon Slayer story, and which is presumably how modern people know about what happened, even if most people believe that it's just a bunch of lies. Amongst all of the Demon Slayers, Inosuke is probably the most hated by those who support the Demon Slayer Corps. Specifically, the people who make their uniforms and swords become extraordinarily upset with him as they see him literally tearing apart their hard work in front of them, ripping his clothes off, and chipping away at the swords they just made. You probably won't see Inosuke's crow with him very often, and that's because the bird tends to avoid him as a result of almost being eaten by him 18 times. While Tanjiro is a pretty easy name to say, Inosuke has called him 10 different names so far, including Ganpachiro Kamaboko, Gengoro Shakariki, Tontaro Itadaki, Kenjiro Anago, Tangoro Hamado, Jangoro Amado, Monjiro, Kentaro, Santaro, and once in a dream where he was a raccoon, even being called Ponjiro. And to be fair, some of these are almost close-ish. Genya is the only Demon Slayer to not have access to any breathing style, and that's probably because he prefers to not use his sword and instead relies on a gun. Which, yeah, sure, I guess that's fair. Regardless though, Genya uses something called repetitive action, as opposed to total concentration breathing. And to be fair, if I had to choose a breathing style, I think shotgun style would be pretty effective. Kanao is the only example of a Suguko that we get in the series. This is a Demon Slayer that has been selected to be the successor to a living Hashira. Ironically, we are told that they tend to use the same breathing styles as the Hashira that they work under, but in Kanao's case, which is, again, the only one that we've seen, we have a flower breather who is a Suguko to an insect breather in Shinobu. Kanao, Aoi, and Shinobu all have different uniforms than Mitsuri, despite Mitsuri supposedly having the standard for female slayers. Apparently, Maeda Masao, a perverted uniform sewer for the Demon Slayer Corps, makes them specifically to be open-chested. However, upon seeing that, Shinobu poured oil onto her uniform and threw matches on it in front of Maeda, telling Kanao and Aoi to do the same. Murata, the most recurring background Demon Slayer, was in the same final selection as Sabito and Giyu. He was also apparently given a compliment from a girl he liked about his hair, and since then has put extra effort into making it look perfect. Hotaru, the swordsmith for the Demon Slayer Corps, is typically seen in a Hyotoko mask, usually described as having a puckered face and often different-sized eyes. While there are different stories for this in different regions of Japan, in Iwate, where I lived for a year, the myth was that there was a boy with an odd face who had the ability to make gold from his belly button. If someone died, he would show up at their house with a Hyotoko mask and put it on their fireplace, this in hopes of bringing their family good fortune going forward. Much like Hotaru, Urokodaki also wears a mask. This is because he has a very gentle face and demons would make fun of him otherwise. His mask is based on a Tengu, a mythological yokai, which were sometimes considered to be Shinto gods. Most relevantly, in the story of Minamoto Yoshitsune, a young boy named Ushiwaka Maru is taught swordsmanship by a Tengu to get revenge against a clan that killed his father, which is pretty similar to Urokodaki training Tanjiro to avenge his family and protect Nezuko. Jigoro was the only Hashira to not have his title based purely on his breathing style. While he was the Thunder Hashira and he did use thunder breathing, he was typically referred to as the Roaring Hashira, which instead refers to the sound that thunder makes, and when you consider that sound breathing comes from thunder breathing, it's a pretty cool link. Kanae might have been one of the strongest Hashira in the series. While others are definitely powerful in their own right, we often see the higher echelon of the upper moons being taken down by multiple demon slayers. Akaza, Doma, and Kokushibo are each individually miles beyond what the Hashira have to offer. However, Kanae was able to battle with Upper Moon 2 Doma until sunrise on equal footing. While she ultimately would die from her injuries, it still says quite a bit about her that she could hold her own against Doma for so long. Especially when you consider that Rengoku, who was considered extremely powerful among the Hashira, was barely able to keep up with Upper Moon 3 for a night. Shinjiro Rengoku is a character that a lot of people have issues with. He's just kind of a jerk all around, and while we do see a softer side from him in specific scenes, especially when we look at him actually coming to terms with his dead wife or dead son, it's hard to deny that he's one of the most hateable characters in the series. And this is only pushed further when we learn in the first handbook that he hates animals so much that he wouldn't let Kyojuro get a pet, because of course this character hates animals. You may have noticed that the Rengoku family has a very distinctive hairstyle, and apparently this is caused by an ancestor who ate too much tempura. I'm not sure how this dyed their hair, but it looks pretty cool, so maybe I'll give it a go. Kyojiro's mother, Ruka, has very unusual eyes. During pregnancy in the Rengoku family, the women traditionally stare into flames for hours on end, this in hopes that it will inspire their child to grow stronger. Ruka apparently did this so much that it actually dyed her eyes crimson. Giyu Tomioka has a spin-off which is fittingly called Giyu Tomioka Gaiden. The amount of wisteria within Shinobu's body has been retconned by Gotoge, originally being said to have 70 times the lethal amount for a demon, however it was later corrected to be 700 times. Shinobu also has the most distant breathing style that we know about from the original Sun style. Insect breathing comes from flower breathing, which comes from water breathing, which comes from sun breathing, making her 3 times removed from the original style. The next set, which is 2 times removed, include things like flower, sun, mist, serpent, love, and beast breathing. And finally, the original 6 deviations were water, flame, thunder, stone, wind, and moon breathing. Mitsuri's hair has a unique color to it, and this is apparently because she ate too much sakura mochi. Interestingly, this kind of parallels how the Rengoku family received their hair color as well, which is kind of fun when you consider that love breathing, which Mitsuri uses, stems from flame breathing, which the Rengoku family uses. These slits on Obanai's mouth are likely a reference to Heath Ledger's The Joker. Wait, no, wrong notes. Sorry, it is a reference to the Kuchisaka Onna, or the split-mouthed woman. This woman is known to cover her face with a mask and have long black hair and pale skin. Pretty fitting to Obanai. The myth surrounding this yokai is that it would approach men and ask if they thought that she was beautiful. If they said no, she would kill them. If they said yes, she would reveal her mouth and ask them again. Again, if they said no, she kills them. If they say yes, she cuts their face to look like hers. The only apparent loophole is to say that she looks average or to distract her, but either way, it's a pretty nightmarish situation. Sanemi stops Maeda Maso from harassing the female demon slayers, and he does so by scaring him to the point of wetting his pants. Gyome has a connection to Kaigaku. Kaigaku used to be one of the orphans that Gyome took care of at the temple. Gyome is also the only Hashira to not use a sword, instead relying on a chained axe with a spiked ball at the end. Muichiro and Gyome both rank as the fastest developing Hashira, each becoming a Hashira only 2 months after picking up a sword for the first time, which is insane when you consider that Tanjiro trained with Urokodaki for 2 years. Tengen and Jigoro are the only known Hashira to retire due to disability rather than age or death. Interestingly, Jigoro was a thunder-breathing user, while Tengen is a sound-breathing user, which of course derives from thunder-breathing. Each Hashira has a specific region that they have to protect. The leader of the Demon Slayers, Kaguya Ubuyashiki, inherited his position at the age of 4 after his father took his own life at 19. Furthermore, all of the other male siblings that he had died in suit. This all pushes into the fact that the entire family had been cursed for birthing the original demon, Muzan, over 1,000 years ago. This, interestingly, ties Muzan and the Demon Slayer core together very, very intimately. Regardless, every man in the Ubuyashiki family would meet their death before the age of 30, while every woman would have to be married off or change their names when they become 13, otherwise they will also be killed or die at that point. It's definitely an interesting curse to deal with in a series that reflects the series' antagonist who fears mortality pretty directly. In contrast to the Ubuyashiki family, Muzan is effectively immortal outside of being caught in sunlight. His primary goal is to achieve the ability to walk under the sun and truly become immortal, and overcome the fear and trauma that he dealt with having been a very weak and sick human. To overcome the sun, Muzan has to find the blue spider lily, a flower which rarely blooms and even then only blooms during the day. This altogether makes his quest kind of a fool's errand. Yushiro and Chachamaru are likely the only demons left alive at the end of the main Demon Slayer story. Demon Slayer pays homage to several other manga and anime series, but one of the earliest references is probably with Susumaru's eyes, which are nearly a perfect match to Sage Mode Naruto's. Yaiba is likely inspired by the Tenome, or the hand-eye yokai from Japanese myth. This yokai was created when a blind man was killed, and on his last breath wished to see the man who killed him. He came back to life and searched the area using his new eyes that appeared on his hand. Kyogai can be seen reading The Legend of the Eight Samurai. This was a film created in the 1980s and based on a Japanese epic by Kyokote Bakin called Nanso Satomi Hakkenden. This story discusses the lives of the 8 dog warriors bound by fate to fight for the Satomi clan against powerful lords. Probably similar to the Demon Slayer core. This is kind of also supplemented when you consider that all of the 8 warriors had distinct markings, which ties into Demon Slayers when you consider that there are 8 Demon Slayers who fought against Muzan and received the Demon Slayer mark. We are unfortunately excluding Kokushibo here as he did not fight against Muzan. And obviously, yeah, that's a bit nitpicky, but hey, let me have this, it's pretty fun, and there's a bunch of other solid connections in this list. One goofy one's alright. Most of the lower moon names were introduced in the first handbook. This includes Kamanue, Mukago, Wakuraba, and Rokuro. Rui is another character with a name that reflects his actions. Rui in this case means to accumulate, and when you consider that he is one of the few demons other than Muzan to build up a group of followers, it makes a lot of sense. Daki's sash-like neck is likely inspired by the Rokurokubi, a yokai that mostly looks human but can stretch or detach its neck freely. Daki and Gyoko have been claimed to get special treatment from Muzan. In particular, this is because they act as a great source of income for him. Daki is able to make money in the entertainment district, while Gyoko can make money by selling his pots for massive sums of cash. Muzan lives a pretty lavish life, so he needs some way to pay for it. Gyotaro is, interestingly enough, the real Upper Moon 6, not Daki. Kaigaku was able to master most of the thunder-breathing forms, however, he was unable to master the first form. Though unconfirmed, this could be a result of him having his scabbard on his back as opposed to his waist, where the form tends to launch from. Kaigaku also has an interesting choice in accessories, with his Tomoe bracelets and necklace. These change color between his human and demon lives, going from yellow to dark blue, which shows his fall from good to bad. The Tomoe is also represented on Raijin, the god of lightning's drums, which alludes to the thunder-breathing style. Gyoko is the only Upper Moon that we did not get a backstory for in the manga. Nakime, Upper Moon 4, and Kyogai, former Lower Moon 6, each use sound-based blood demon arts which can affect their environments. We've seen one member of the Upper Moons and one member of the Lower Moons see their loved ones after death, these being Rui and Akaza. Akaza's attacks tend to be named after fireworks, a reference to his lost love Koyuki to see fireworks together. On a similar note, Akaza is also the only demon given specific permission to not fight or kill women by Muzan. Finally, Akaza is also the only demon moon to fight barehanded. Doma is the one who turned Daki and Gyotaro into demons. And finally, Kokushibo has been challenged for the title of Upper Moon 1 3 times. Usually he opts to absorb those he defeats, however, the third time was with Akaza, and he enjoyed the challenge so much that he allowed him to live. And there you have it, 50 facts all about the Demon Slayer story that you might have missed watching through. Again, let me know what you thought of these, how many you knew, and how many you thought were really interesting, or just what your favorite was. And hey, if you have any fun Demon Slayer facts or things that we might have missed, let me know in the comments because I would love to learn more. If you guys enjoyed this video though, remember to leave a like and subscribe to AnimeUproar for more great content in the future. You really do have to take the time to hit the bell and then select the option that says all notifications. I know it's a hassle, but it is just how YouTube works. Finally, you can also follow us at AnimeUproar on Twitter and Instagram, or you can follow myself at AxelBeats. But for now, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and until next time, remember to stay excellent.